Mentions of trauma abound in mainstream sources. It's not only due to gun violence, the invasion of Ukraine, a climate crisis, or COVID. It's also racism, bullying, Me Too, and a host of other experiences. In addition, not only have I personally witnessed countless experiences of trauma as a documentary filmmaker, I have lived with the symptoms of post-traumatic stress for over 30 years as a result of child sexual abuse. The goal of this short video is to provide you with an introduction of what trauma is from two different perspectives, clinical and popular. Within the predominantly European American and arguably white clinical medical model, most trauma research and treatment still has its roots in the DSM. In addition, there has been rapid growth in popular mainstream attention to trauma research and treatment, due in part to best-selling books such as My Grandmother's Hands, The Body Keeps the Score, and Trauma and Recovery. I think this mainstream attention is a blessing, destigmatizing the experience and revealing how common trauma is, while also raising the visibility and importance of mental health overall. Let's start by delineating two things when it comes to talking about and defining trauma: clinical language and popular language. By clinical, I am specifically referring to the usage of the DSM as an authoritative text that provides criteria for the diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. In a clinical setting, speaking of someone as having trauma or being traumatized means an individual exhibits symptoms that meet the criteria for a diagnosis of PTSD. This diagnosis includes three broad features: reliving memories of the traumatic experience, avoiding reminders, sometimes called triggers, of the trauma, and dissociation or numbing out in reaction to disturbing and intrusive memories, hypervigilance, irritability, problems with focus, memory, and attention, sleep issues, and a startle response that seems exaggerated in proportion to circumstances. In popular language, trauma does not always mean PTSD. Trauma is often used to describe and label events and experiences themselves, as opposed to the reaction to events and experiences. From a clinical perspective, trauma is the outcome of an overwhelming experience. For example, two people might be in the same car accident. One may have no symptoms as a result, and the other may develop PTSD. In this case, the event is not the trauma. The trauma is the experience of the symptoms of PTSD following the car accident. The question, what causes some people to develop PTSD and others not, is interesting, and while not the topic of this video, I do attempt to answer this question in a separate video. Now personally, I don't take issue with describing events themselves as being traumatic, as I think this usage of the term benefits us all by revealing how often trauma occurs and how many experiences can be traumatizing. Not that long ago, trauma was often written with a capital T and was generally considered only to happen to survivors of extreme and life-threatening experiences, such as combat and rape. Research has revealed this is not the case. For example, non-life-threatening experiences, such as brief encounters of bullying in school or sexual harassment in the workplace, often result in the symptoms of trauma, such as intrusive memories, avoidance, emotional shutdown, hypervigilance, anxiety, and sleep problems. In fact, as folks such as Sigmund Freud in the 1800s to Stephen Porges more recently have emphasized, people outside an experience do not have the authority to determine whether or not an individual's response to an event is appropriate. It is their experience, their reaction to what has happened, and not some list of criteria that an event must include in order for it to be considered valid trauma. The trauma is in the experience following, the aftermath, that has, for whatever reason, been overwhelming or devastating to the individual. I hope this video helps with understanding what trauma is and how different contexts may change what it means. And while there are countless ways an individual, their family or ancestors, community, country, or planet may experience trauma, there are also as many opportunities to heal and grow. Healing trauma is possible, and the routes to get there are many. Thank you for watching this video.